It was about control of oil, land, and legitimacy. So when you hear a ceasefire, don't picture peace. Picture a pause button, pressed by two sides who need to buy time. For the Syrian government, the ceasefire is a PR move. They just finished the first parliamentary election since Assad's fall, and they're trying to look like they've got things under control. But the results, out of 190 new members in the People's Assembly, only 4% were women, and just 2 Christians made it in. So yeah, new Syria looks a lot like the old Syria. Meanwhile, the SDF is watching this and thinking, if this is a democracy, maybe we'll pass. This ceasefire is less about any violence and more about managing headlines. Because the last thing al-Shara needs right now is to look like he's lost control of Aleppo again. And of course, the US is still in the picture, because it always is. Just hours after the ceasefire was announced, al-Shara spoke with US envoy Tom Barak about supporting Syria's sovereignty, which, let's be honest, is diplomatic code for how do we keep this thing from blowing up without actually getting involved. The US wants stability but doesn't want to spend another dollar in Syria. And the Kurds, they're hoping Washington will pressure Damascus to honor the march deep. But Washington's priorities have shifted. After Ukraine, after Gaza, after Taiwan, Syria is no longer top of the list. So the SDF might be realizing they're on their own this time. Here's what's really at stake. Syria is standing at the edge of something fragile. A post-Assad era that's supposed to rebuild trust, democracy, and national unity. But how do you rebuild a country when the people who fought ISIS now don't trust the new government that replaced the dictator? How do you unify a nation when the very forces that defended it are now being sidelined or shelled? And how do you call it peace when civilians in Aleppo still wake up to the sound of murders? This isn't just a ceasefire between armies, it's a collision of identities. Arab versus Kurdish, centralized power versus autonomy, old promises versus new realities. And every time the guns go quiet, the political war just gets louder. So what happens next? The ceasefire might hold for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But unless that March agreement, the one meant to integrate the SDF into the Syrian state, actually moves forward, we are looking at another cycle of violence. The real test isn't military, it's political. Because if the government keeps excluding Kurds and minorities from the process, the new Syria is just old Syria with better lighting. And let's be honest, after 14 years of war, no one in Syria wants to watch that rerun. So yeah, a ceasefire in Aleppo sounds like hope. But if you listen closely, you can still hear the cracks forming underneath. Because peace isn't about who stops shooting first. It's about who's willing to change afterward. And in Syria, that's a battle that's still being fought. Quietly, politically, and maybe endlessly.